Hey, Mitch.
Oh, hey, Ed, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. Are you ready for George Lucas's first film?
What are you talking about? I thought we were doing Kojak tonight.
No, it's the 50th anniversary of his first film, THX 1138. Why do you think I'm dressed like this?
I don't know. Well, I ain't got anything to wear. What should I do?
Just take a pill and be yourself. How about that?
All right. You think I'll fit in?
You are a true believer.
Hi, this is Ed Dollister.
This is Mitch Halleck.
And welcome to another episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you're a regular viewer, thanks for coming back. Hope you've enjoyed our past episodes. In particular, our Howard the Duck episode that we looked at divided some people. Was it really that? Yes, it was really that bad, but not the special. Hopefully you did learn something.
No, we were very fair. Yeah.
I thought we
don't
were.
know.
But today we're talking about a film that is not as, I don't think it's as revered or as beloved, not as Howard the Duck, of course, but given the pedigree of this film, you would expect it to have a bigger fan base. But it does celebrate its 50th anniversary this year, and we're going to be talking about THX 1138 or THX 1138.
11:38.
It depends which way you say it, I guess. But we're going to be
Ed, but before that, though, before we get into today's smorgasbord of cinema, don't forget, if they like what they see here on this particular episode, or maybe they want to go watch about Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is also celebrating a 40th anniversary, or Land of the Lost, which I saw just went up 2.2 thousand people have watched that one.
Wow.
You could subscribe simply by hitting the button down here, and you'll be notified when Ed and I go on another excellent adventure back into movies, TV, toys, and more, all here on the mighty YouTube. Anyway, with that done, let's dispense with the pleasantries, as Darth Vader would say, and get to work.
All right. So we're talking about THX 1138. And I first discovered this film after I fell in love with Star Wars. So at age 7, Star Wars was everything. And I started looking up, all this stuff. Of course, back in those days, it was all on books where I had to look up and movie books. And I found out that George Lucas had created, American Graffiti and also a film called THX 1138. And I'd never heard of it. I thought, what a strange name for a movie. This was before THX, the sound quality assurance system came in, of course. That's what it's named after. And I remember going to, there was a secondhand bookshop called the Book Nook in just near where we lived. And I remember finding this. And it was George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, THX 1138. And I thought, oh, is this a Star Wars sequel to Star Wars THX 1138? No. But it was the novelization, which they obviously re-released to cash in on the success of Star Wars, and that's when I first heard about THX. What about you, Mitch?
Well, I just took my head off because it was getting very sweaty in there.
Well, you should try being in that thing.
So, I was going to say, the smell of, it smells like a rubber balloon, latex. But anyway, no, I had heard about it. I actually think I heard about THX 1138 before Star Wars, believe it or not, because they would have midnight movies on the local TV. There wasn't any HBO or there wasn't any cable TV. So they would show science fiction shows and movies. So I was going to say, let's see, 1977 Star Wars, probably 1974 or 3. But I do remember hearing about some weird movie that ran on the local news channel, Channel 8. And all I remember is it was all white because I was watching on a black and white TV, which was fine because there's not much color in this movie.
Yes.
And all I remember is the cops chasing after him. They were on motorcycles. And I must have saw the very end of the movie, and not to jump to it, but there's a big chase scene at the end, and it goes down this tunnel. And I remember watching this going, what the hell is this movie? And all you heard was a lot of chatter, like radio chatter.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, okay. And I never thought twice about it. And I just saw it and filed it away in my head and didn't think much more about it. But then when Star Wars came out in 77 and I saw that name, THX 1138, it dawned on me that I had seen this movie and I wanted to go back and see it because now that, you know, there's a connection to Star Wars. But there was no DVD players. There was no VHS players in 77. There might have been, but not in my neighborhood. We weren't richer or anything like that. So what you had to do was wait once again for the local stations to rebroadcast it at like 11 o'clock at night on the midnight science fiction theater, or maybe there'd be a showing in the afternoon. We had something called the 4:30 movie, and they would show like science fiction movies, and they were about 90 minutes. But the funny thing is about that, it would go from 4:30 to 6 o'clock. They would cut out a lot of stuff to get commercials in, but you didn't know because you were a kid. So, I mean, THX only runs about 90 minutes.
Yep.
So imagine that with a bunch of about 25 minutes of commercials thrown in or something. So we're talking about, now it's down to about an hour or so. And that was on. So I was totally lost when I got to see it again. So yeah, it was very peculiar, this whole THX 1138. How was the book though? Did you was
I did read it years ago when it came out. I would read that. I would read I've got probably about 7 different versions of Star Wars. You know, there was the junior novelization.
Yep,
There was
yep.
that, and the yellow cover and the white cover and all those sort of things. I used to reread those all the time. And I remember reading it, and I remember the names used to just confuse me. I didn't know who was who. So, so just I suppose let's go back in time a little bit. So, George Lucas, film student, showing quite a lot of promise, and he created a short film called Electronic Labyrinth THX 1138.
Right.
4EB, I think it is. Or EB.
Yeah.
And you can view it on YouTube, and it's quite an interesting experimental film. It's basically not much story, but very strong visuals. Does that sound familiar? And it follows basically THX, this character who is escaping from this future society. You don't really know a lot about it, but there is some telltale, I suppose, throwbacks. I don't know if it's a throwback because it's what you see in the actual film that came out in 1971. So, there's a lot of white, there's lots of that radio chatter that you hear over talking, a lot of stuff that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it sounds like, it looks like it's a bit of a used world and everything like that. So you get the sense that there's a bigger some story going on here.
Yeah.
And only goes for 15 minutes. And
no, I was just going to say, he's a student, Lucas is at this point at USC, University of Southern California. And it is really ambitious for its time, because we're talking in the 60s, very, avant-garde, very cutting edge with a lot of quick cuts and edits. He was, if anything, George Lucas is a master at editing. And if you don't know what that is, just go look what a film editor does, because he even would say years later, like, the magic happens, or the movie's really made in the editing bay.
Yes.
Because you would have, rolls of film from different angles and such, and then you could cut it in such a way to make speed, to make things happen. Before THX 1138 and all this, he made another film, I think what was called Look at Life or something like that. And it's only about 60 seconds. And it's a lot of chopped up news footage from like the local news, like war and civil rights and, racism and everything that was going on in the 60s. And it's just shoved together in like 60 seconds. It's like, chop, 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 almost like what's the word I'm looking
a
for?
montage?
Like a strobe. Like a strobe light,
almost like a zoetrope.
Yeah, like a zoetrope. That'll come into play years later. And yeah, it just moves fast. So whatever, Lucas knew how to capture motion on film with race cars, because he's a big car nut. Everybody knows that about George Lucas. He loves speed, he loves racing, and the one I just talked about, A Look at Life, and then the THX 1138. That's all about quick motion. I mean, and then it's going to happen in Star Wars. It's going to happen in the drag race over at American Graffiti. He just loves that, like, in your face movement and fast. And That's honestly, I think THX, when I think of that movie, I probably saw the best part of the film, which was the chase scene at the very end. Because all leading up to that, the exposition of what was going on, you're right. They never tell you what year it is, but it's a very dystopian, depressing, cold, clinical, George Orwellian 1984 type of future. There's no sets. I mean, it's all pure white, that whole look of it. They don't want to have any features on anything. Everybody's clothes are white and the
There's no,
background.
well, again, everyone's
Stark,
given
very
a,
stark and cold.
yeah, everyone's given not a name, like but a
No.
designation, THX, SEN, LUH. There's
Yeah.
been all these. And I suppose basically once that short film was created, and again, you can watch it on YouTube, there was, not, I wouldn't say buzz, but it did pique the interest of one person in particular, Francis Ford Coppola. And
Right.
he was directing on Finian's Rainbow, I believe.
Yeah. Lucas. Yeah. George got a job on that shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I suppose, Francis Ford Coppola, this young guy coming in, it was a very old Hollywood studio system at the time, and they were looking to inject some youth into it. So basically what happened was that Francis Ford Coppola offered George Lucas the opportunity to create a feature film version of THX 1138. It was
Right.
obviously the name was edited down, and
Yeah.
he and his friend Walter Murch, who's a fantastic
Yep.
sound designer and editor, also a director who he directed Return to Oz.
Yeah.
Actually, which is a very dark take on the
Yeah. It
Wizard of
is.
Oz.
Yeah.
We might have to do a show on that. I quite like that movie. And they worked together to create THX 1138. And again, it is a story set in, maybe the not too distant future where there is no love, sex, families, which sort of sounds like my life at university. But it was basically you took basically you were prescribed drugs, which
Yeah.
fixed
Yeah.
your mood. You had these
Yeah.
police robots that
Right.
would
Right.
essentially, keep the peace. But you could feel there was a few cracks in the system. I think.
Yeah. I was gonna say I remember the pill thing because again I saw this in the 70s. I was like 10, 11 years old or so, and I do remember that part was like bothersome, if anything, because I remember there's a whole scene, and we didn't even talk about the actors. We have Robert
Not yet,
Duvall
yes.
as THX. He's the lead, THX 1138. Because I know the whole backstory about Francis Ford Coppola's new movie studio called American Zoetrope
Yes.
was he went to Warner Brothers and such, and he pitched, oh, we're going to have all these movies and all these avant-garde directors and these artists and all this stuff. So he had this whole community, where we had all these can't think of the guy's name, Paul, all these big future movie directors were all friends with each other. And Lucas is there as well. And they're all up in San Francisco. They're all around Haight-Ashbury. There's a lot of hippie stuff going on there. But Lucas is there. And George was the more serious one. He wasn't out there getting stoned and dancing around to the Grateful Dead. He was more like, let's do more film. He was all into it. So they said George is going to do this science fiction film. So he gets the money to Lucas to go and do THX. I'm going to say the budget, correct, 4 million?
It was
Something like
no,
that?
no, it was less than that. It was like $800,000.
Oh, okay. I know it was a low budget film
It was
because
very low budget.
that's going to come into play when they go to show it to the execs and they're not too thrilled with this movie. And he goes and does the film, and I know he filmed it like parts of the LA. There's a tunnel that they were under construction that they used for the chase scene at the end. I
Yep,
think
there
it's the
was.
same
Yeah,
tunnel in Blade Runner.
they used San Francisco, the airport. They
Yeah,
used a lot
that's
of
it. Yeah.
these futuristic buildings. George Lucas actually wanted to film it in Japan, and he went to
Oh,
Japan to scout locations, but they money constraints and budget constraints, and
right.
they said, sorry, George, you can't do that. So
You can't go
that's why
there.
they just
No, but
filmed it around there. But it does have a very interesting look in the design.
yeah,
I mean, of the police are pretty, striking. If you don't remember much about THX, you remember these police robots.
Yeah, they're almost like prototype stormtroopers. They
A
just walk
little,
around with
yes,
that faceless look, and they've got these poles that
yes,
they jab people with if you get out of control or whatever like that. But if you remember the movie, Donald Pleasance is in the film, and
yes.
he plays his friend. And for some reason, he's depressed, and he doesn't take because they tell you, "Go, are you depressed?" It's like somebody's off camera talking to him, or he's talking to a video screen. It's almost
Yes,
like he's
there's a
doing like
video
a
screen
confessional
of
thing.
God, yes, which is
Yeah, and
got
they
the
said, "What's
hand
the matter with you?" Yeah, and
response.
there's all these close-ups of him, just like his hand through his hair, and he's just all very distraught about something. And they're like, "Take the pill, take a pill." And like you said, they're just kind of controlling his emotions with antidepressants and such. But what happens to the Donald Pleasance character? He doesn't take the pills. It starts to wear off or something. Because I
Well,
remember being
basically,
almost like
what
in the
he does is
asylum.
he is so there's a few. He's been observing Robert Duvall's character THX, and he wants to become friends with him. So while THX is also having well, not problems with LUH, who has been supplementing his pills. So
Yeah,
what happens is he has a chemical imbalance, and he starts to
that's
have
it.
feelings for his roommate. And
Yes,
essentially they end up, doing the wild thing, and she ends up being pregnant actually at
yeah,
in it later on. But that's a big no-no in this society. So essentially, something happens to Donald Pleasance's
Donald Pleasance.
roommate.
Yeah,
So they end up being roommates together. He reports uh, Donald Pleasance for an infraction, and they basically all end up in this prison together, which is what you've
yeah,
got behind you there. This
yeah, yeah, yeah.
quiet prison, but you can actually escape this prison if if you find the way. That's again, there's cracks in the system. Sometimes you see those robots, walking, or they're walking into a wall or something like that. Not
Yeah, yeah, they kind of break down.
yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
everything's perfect. And Robert Duvall's character actually does. He helps build those. That's his designated job of building those robots. And there's some really good scenes that they filmed in an actual nuclear reactor. That's him
Oh,
actually doing that in an actual nuclear reactor.
I didn't know that. I just
Yeah.
remember it looked kind of like far out, man. Because at the time, science fiction movies are very odd in the cinema at the time. We just come off of Planet of the Apes,
Yep.
where we're gonna have all those like futuristic, post-apocalyptic, depressing movies with Omega Man and
Yes.
what's the other Charlton Heston one? I can't think of.
Oh, Soylent
Which
Green. Yes.
Soylent Green, yeah. And then there's that, and then it's just a very depressing time for futuristic movies. It might be because the war was going on, the Vietnam War, and everybody was
Zardoz.
just not
Remember
trusting the
Zardoz?
government. Zardoz is there, and I'm thinking of then it's going to turn into a lot of robots, like silent running. You're
Yes.
going to have that with the lone human. You're going to have A Boy and His Dog with Don Johnson,
Oh,
which is
yes.
another prototype movie. Of course, they're all coming off of 2001, so you have this very clinical, cold, futuristic Stanley Kubrick film, which is like big budget, box office, trippy, mind blowing type of thing, but you don't get more of those films. It's almost like the opposite end of the scale. You get these stark, barren wasteland of movies. And I think THX is probably the leader of the pack when it comes to that, because I don't think anybody else comes close to making a really depressing future until you get to the Mad Max movies, which is another, futuristic,
Yes.
apocalyptic end of the world thing. But this, sadly, watching THX and knowing the world we live in now, it's kind of like, I know we don't live in white walled rooms and stuff, but the government watching, the excessive police force
Mhm.
type of thing going on, the mood shifts, everyone's doped up, they're either on some type of depressant pill or whatever. A lot of that's come to pass. So either Lucas was a prophet and predicting what was going to happen 30, 40 years from now, or he was I don't know. Did you ever cite what his influences were? Was it all George Orwell, 84
I,
type of thing?
I haven't heard what it was. I think it was more about creating a society, a believable slice of what might be, and I think he has achieved that. In that, it does
Yeah.
look like it looks like there's a bigger world out there that you wouldn't necessarily want to
Yeah,
live
yeah,
in.
yeah, 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 yeah. And you know what? We cut to the chase, and it literally cut to the chase. There's a elaborate chase sequence again with cars and motorcycles and stuff. And at the end, the very end shot of this movie, I know we're jumping ahead, but the end shot is Robert Duvall climbing up, and he gets out to the surface, and there's the sun
Yeah.
is coming up, or it's going down. It depends on your point of view, and that's the end shot.
Yeah.
He escapes. He gets away from where they were. So I guess it was like a subterranean world, or I don't know where it was. So he finally breaks the surface and he's there. And all I could think of was Luke Skywalker, watching the
Oh, yeah.
sunset and his epic journey in Star Wars. But then we have it again repeated with Anakin Skywalker watching the sunset. And then even as much as the Rise of Skywalker, we got Rey, Indiana Jones silhouetted against the sunset. And
Yeah.
I know it's Spielberg, but
In
that sequence
Raiders,
is in there.
or riding off
Yeah.
into the sunset in the Last Crusade. I
Yeah,
suppose.
and then in American Graffiti, they end with the dawn is coming up at the end with the drag race because it takes place early in the morning, so the sun's coming up in that end of the thing. Lucas, I think he has this little trademark trope there, his mise en scène or auteur theory, whatever you want to call it.
You could call it a Zoe trope.
A Zoe trope. There you go. But no, it is. It's something to do with the sun.
Yeah.
And maybe we can go look at Willow and see if that ends with the sunset and the little creatures there looking
That's
out
right.
into it. So he likes that. I mean, that's that to him that shows like, there's a world out there. And I guess I mean THX is kind of like Luke Skywalker. I mean, he fights the evil government empire and rebels. I mean, if you want to look at it that way,
He does. I mean, he's so it it didn't do well. Okay,
it didn't do well, but it's
looked at it.
No,
they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't publicize it. It didn't do well.
No,
fast forward to Star Wars.
Yeah,
let's cash in. George Lucas, his first film, re-released it. Didn't do well.
No. The funnier thing is there's an executive for Warner Brothers who's sitting in that meeting. And when they showed that, oh my God, the execs were like, what is this? They were telling Coppola they wanted their money back and they were furious about this thing. They wanted a cut of the film. So they got it and they edited it and they took it away from Lucas and they tried to salvage it. And I think they even said it was unreleasable maybe at the time, but there is a story. I read it in the biography of George Lucas, the exec at Warner's who hated the film beyond belief. Years later, that fella goes to work at Disney, Walt Disney Company, and there's Lucas there once again. Now they've met up years later after he's become the success of Star Wars and such, and they're in a room, and I believe he gets killed in I might be wrong. I think he gets killed in an airplane crash. He was one of the Disney execs, Frank something his name is, and he was the guy that was at Warner's that couldn't stand THX, and here they are years later shaking hands and making all nice, and then he passes away, and then Michael Eisner becomes the head of Disney Studios back in the day. But it's got a troubled past, this movie. I mean, like you said, they did re-release it. They re-released American Graffiti when Star Wars came out because I saw it in the theaters then.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get this out again, and it didn't do well. And I bought an anniversary edition. It must have been 10 years ago for the 40th anniversary. It's got a silhouette
with the
of
tag.
THX with the tag on the air. Yeah, I couldn't find it before we recorded, somewhere upstairs in my DVD library, but they restored it.
They did. So I think it was 2004 that they did a restoration where they did a special edition. And a lot of people lament the Star Wars special editions where they add scenes and CGI and things like that. I've got to say this is the best special edition I have seen of a film. They augment the scenes by adding a lot of like crowd sequences. If you've seen the original, some CGI when they're working on the robot, some just to expand the world, and it is great. Like it's not obtrusive. It looks fantastic. So that's
now. Did Lucas have a hand in overseeing?
ILM did all those. They did it for quite a limited budget. They got a lot of ILM employees, to shave their head and to fill out some of the crowd scenes because obviously they didn't have the budget back then, or maybe the technology
or the set,
back then. So they did some really amazing set extensions. They extended the car chase and motorbike chase. That again, that motorbike chase at the end is quite amazing with the stuntman who
Yeah.
that's a real
Flips.
stuntman where he hits,
Yeah.
flips
Yeah.
and hits. It's as good as the flip in is it Mad Max 2?
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
that one
right,
where
right,
the
right.
stuntman hits the and flips over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so that's
And
really
that's all practical effects. That's
yes,
not CGI. This is a
no.
real guy
All
flipping
they
through
did
the
is
air.
they added some, like him driving through some scaffolding to crash. That was all digitally added, but everything else is real. And I suppose that's the only version you can readily get.
Oh, so
You
the
know,
one I
today
have that's the one that's
it
out there.
would be
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Well,
Um,
it's on HBO Max. I know that because when I
is
just
it?
got yeah, it was in the archive. They have this whole section of films, the TCM, Turner
Oh
Classic
yes.
Movies. THX was in there, and I was like, oh, maybe I should go watch it again because it is one of those movies. It's not like it's not a crowd pleaser. You're not going to sit there and watch it
No.
every night like Star Wars and yay, go THX. But it it's a good movie. I mean, if you've never seen it, at least watch it once or
Oh,
twice.
look, I think so. The production design, the shot composition, the sound design is quite incredible, and it's just an interesting film. And it's good. I think it's always interesting to watch, directors that you love and follow. And George Lucas
Yeah.
really hasn't directed a lot of movies.
No, the
It's
Star Wars trilogy, American Graffiti, and this, and then
yeah,
the new Star Wars trilogy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
all you need to do is I think you get a real good appreciation of where he started from, and you might start to see some little, go, oh, I can sort of see that, or that framing, or that
Yeah.
concept or idea. So it's really well worth getting. It's hard in Australia. I had to import a UK Blu-ray of it,
Oh,
and
really?
that now
Yeah.
doesn't work on my. Sorry, that doesn't work. A DVD. No, was it a Blu-ray? And that doesn't work on my new Blu-ray player, unfortunately.
Oh.
And it's
Oh.
not on any streaming services in Australia that I can find, unfortunately.
Oh.
But obviously, HBO Max is the way to find it in the States, which is
I remember when I was into movie poster collecting, and I got these. I have it upstairs, and it's folded too, so it's
yes,
like the original movie poster for. Though I got to double check. Mine is not like a pinkish color like this. Mine's got a yellowish
yep,
photograph over there. But I have that because I collected the movie posters. I got American Graffiti, THX 113.
yes,
There's not a lot of merchandise. I mean, I was surprised when you showed the novelization. I
yep,
don't remember ever seeing a book about THX. I just saw the DVD. There was, I'm going to say, a VHS back in the day
yep,
of this film. And then a making of it as part of like, you'd get like the history of Lucasfilm or like George Lucas's biography. And there'll be sections in there
yes,
about how he made the movie and the struggles he had with the studio and the release of the film and the critical panning it got. But it does live on, if anything, as a Easter egg before that became a common thing, Easter eggs, because the words THX or the numbers 1138 would be like a signature.
yes,
Wink, wink, nod, nod to all the fanboys because you'd hear them mention, like in American Graffiti, John Milner's license plate is THX 138.
yes.
So that's a nod to George Lucas's first movie. In Star Wars, when Han Solo goes to read the subblock where the princess is, I think that's the number. Is it here? Is 1138? Or is it the 3PO says it? I know 1138
Yeah, it's not.
shows
That's
up.
isn't that 2187?
Oh, 2187.
Which is interesting because in George Lucas's
Oh, there's
in
another. He's obsessed with
well
numbers.
in
Yeah.
THX the student film, it is set in 2187.
Yeah, there's 2187, but there is 1138.
There is.
Oh, you know what it is? Luke says it. I'm sorry. Luke says it. Prisoner transfer from subblock 1138.
1138. That's it. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely
I
right.
wasn't notified. I'll have to clear it. Look out, he's Luke. It's sad.
The battle droids. One of the battle droids in the
The
Phantom.
battle droid had it on his number
Yeah,
138. The binoculars inside of when the walkers are coming.
Yeah.
In The Empire Strikes Back, when the numbers are scrolling, it'll come across 1138 really quick.
So yeah, so there's lots of that. There is now.
I'm trying to think where it is in Jedi, though.
I was sorry.
I'm trying to think where it is in Jedi. Return of the Jedi. Where's 1138?
Oh.
So it's got to be in there somewhere because it is in everything. And is it in Indiana Jones?
Well,
I don't know.
apart from the THX logo coming up at the very start when you're watching it, and in the end credits.
No, it started
But
popping up in a lot, like in a
yeah,
lot of the Pixar films.
it's like the Wilhelm scream, isn't it?
It's
Sort of.
like the Wilhelm scream. It's that signature weird effect that you're like, oh, that's a wink to Lucas. But I'm pretty sure 1138 shows up like on a bus or something in some of the Pixar
Well,
movies.
it might.
Anyway, if
I
any,
mean, given I know that they have a certain there's a animation room, I think, or a number of a room that they use in uh a lot
like
of things.
D23 is a
Like
Disney
that,
wink,
something,
wink,
yes.
nod, nod. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that was in the Winter Soldier with Captain America. Bucky Barnes's cell was D23, and I'm like,
Ah.
hey, that's the thing, you know.
Um Now, did they mention that they ran over a Wookiee, or was that in American?
Now, yeah, that's right. That's right. The cop says that. He goes, I think I ran over a Wookiee back there. And that's the first time you hear Lucas use the word Wookiee.
Yeah,
Then it's going to, of course, be Chewbacca. And like, what the hell's a Wookiee? You know?
that's right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
there are these in the end of it. There are these like subhumanoid creatures that they did replace with
Yeah.
CG at the
They
end.
were like
Who were like
Jawas.
dwellers. Yeah, they were like
Yeah.
you know, surface dwellers or something like.
Yeah. They lived like in the outskirts and they're under the
Yeah,
rock. There's like, what is that all about?
yeah.
Yeah. So,
But
yeah, it's
I think one
freaky
thing
version.
also that THX predicted is that they had different channels. You know, when he's sitting there in the new version with the holograms where he's clicking through, but they had different channels dedicated to different topics. So they had like action violence, they had comedy,
Oh, yeah.
had that, which is what we have today. So
It's what we call it YouTube.
that's
Uh,
right.
I want to watch a show with two guys talking about movies.
Good.
Mention
Well,
it.
you're in the right place, my friend. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
it's hard to believe that it's been 50 years. And I know that on
yeah,
Lucasfilm, Lucasfilm is celebrating its 50th
it is.
anniversary, but
Yes.
technically THX
That-
isn't a Lucasfilm production, it's an American Zoetrope production. But
oh, it doesn't start off with a Lucasfilm limited production?
no, it's American
Oh,
Zoetrope.
American Graffiti does.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
So I
Okay.
suppose you sort of think that, because of I'm not sure why. It's I suppose he formed his
No,
company.
it must be because why would all the Star Wars stuff have logos that say 50th anniversary? Because I just saw a Jar Jar Binks toy the
Yeah.
other day at the store, and they all have a Lucasfilm 50th anniversary. They must.
Yes.
It must be
Well,
called.
yes, but it's if you even go to the Lucasfilm website and it will talk about America, it will talk about THX, but it will say even though it's not a Lucasfilm production,
Oh,
it's George Lucas's first. So
so that's what we're celebrating 50 years of.
I guess so. Let's get George. He's probably tired out
Come up.
after his
He's not
birthday
doing his
last
birthday.
week.
His birthday was last week. He's sitting around going, geez, I hope Mitch and Ed call me. I
Yeah,
got
I know.
nothing. And then, of course, tomorrow, well, here anyway, the 22nd, that's the anniversary of Indiana Jones of the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yes.
The next day, it's the anniversary of Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom. Then it's the Indiana Jones Last Crusade. Yesterday was the anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back, or today's the 40th anniversary, 41 years of The Empire. He loves this time of year, but I was going to say, was THX released in May? Is that where this all starts?
No,
Was
I
George
don't even know when it was. I don't even think. I don't know when it was released in Australia. I can find out and I'll put it down here.
Okay, yeah, it's got. I'm just wondering if that's his fascination with like May releases because all George Lucas movies until the new Star Wars movies, everything came out in May.
Yeah.
All the prequels were in May. All the Indiana Jones. Well, Raiders was June, but everything's always May. He's got like a little sweet spot.
Yeah.
Like right around Memorial Day, May 25th or so here in the States. Star Wars comes out May 25th, of course.
That's right.
Yeah, he just
Was
loves
Return the Jedi May 25th as well.
Yep.
Yep.
See,
So,
maybe that's a lucky day for him. 525.
I don't
I've
know.
always tried to figure out what 1138 was. It January 1st, 1938? Was it someone's birthday?
Well,
know?
there's rumors that it was a San Francisco telephone number, and the number
Oh,
the THX refers to something like 849
yeah. They used to have prefixes, before they did the numbers. It would be like
So
Bensonhurst 1123.
yeah,
Yeah.
so look,
Huh.
I don't know. We'll ask him on the next show.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, George, if you're watching right now, come on. you're not doing anything. Just give us a call. We're nice. We're not bashing any of your movies. It's oh yeah, we did Howard the Duck. Forget it, George. Forget we said that one. I'm sorry about that. Don't watch the Howard the Duck show.
No,
We're sorry.
that's right.
It's not like the Willow episode we did.
Oh, we haven't done Willow yet. Wait, let's do
Wait.
Willow.
Well, why don't we just do all George Lucas things? We've already done Raiders. We've just done THX. We've done Howard the Duck. We might as well do Star Wars or something next. I mean, it's coming up.
Yeah, well, there is a Radioland Murders episode coming up soon.
He owes us. And then we'll do Twice Upon a Time.
Which is quite good. I like that one.
Yeah, and then we'll do Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yeah. Tucker, a Man in His Dream.
You know what? No, it is kind of sad. And I remember Francis Ford Coppola saying that because George Lucas did Star Wars, that became his life.
Yes.
His life's work, regardless of whether he wanted it or not. That was the mantle he was given, and he had to wear it like, shackles. You're a Star Wars guy. When he dies, Star Wars creator is going to be the first thing they say, But there's so much potential in this film. I mean, he was going to try to do Apocalypse Now.
Mm-hmm.
That was another thing. Lucas wanted to go film that, and they wanted to go film it in freaking Vietnam during the war. They were like, "What are you, insane?" But that was the plan.
Yeah,
and they couldn't get the rights to.
Well,
do
he
that.
was like a documentarian,
He was. That's why he wanted to film it like that, like he was like a news footage person. But no, that wasn't going to happen. And of course, after this, he goes and does American Graffiti, and then he couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon, which eventually leads him to do Star Wars, and then they say the rest is history.
Well, what's interesting at for the 2004 re-release of THX, the upgraded one, he actually added a little opening scene, which was an episode of Buck Rogers, and
really?
with Buster Crabbe as Buck Rogers, and it showed him like it was a little short scene, basically showing what a hero. He is just an ordinary person doing the right thing. And I suppose he was trying to link that from the past to what THX is doing, in the future. Just an ordinary person doing.
Well, what year did you say this was supposed to be?
Well, in the short film, it was 2187.
Oh, no, I was going to say because Buck Rogers was in the 25th century. So I was like, oh, maybe that's to allude that this is what the real 25th century became.
Well, it could be. You never know. Because the film, it doesn't state, I don't think, when it is. So it's just a nondescript time. So
no, I don't see Robert Duvall ever talk about this film. I mean, obviously, Robert Duvall went on to bigger and better movies, The Godfather, Apocalypse Now. I mean,
he was in The Conversation as well.
Yeah, that's right. He was in The Conversation as well. But what about some of the other people? I mean, Donald Pleasance was in The Great Escape, Halloween, had a long film career until his death.
Blofeld, but I mean, he sort of had a resurgence in '78 with Halloween when that came out.
Yeah, but what about the actress, though? I don't think I've seen her after.
Maggie McComey, she basically did a few short films, and then she basically didn't act after that. Yeah. So, she's been in a few things. But
and the other actor?
Don Pedro Colley is his name, and he played the hologram who escaped the hologram world. He's the one who ends up crashing into the car into the pole just at the.
It's kind of like Tron in a weird way.
It is actually, yes. And
which we've already done.
He did a lot of TV work. He was it Sheriff Little in the Dukes of Hazzard? He was in the A-Team. He's been in. I saw him recently in Starsky and Hutch. He was in Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
That actor. Oh, the one from Beneath the Planet of the Apes?
Yep.
He still does conventions, in fact, because they sent me his name.
He passed away 3 years ago.
Then it's not that guy.
Rest in peace.
There is another actor who was in the Planet of the Apes films, African-American actor. Yes. That's why I thought you were talking about when you said him. I was like, oh, I know who that is.
So, yeah.
Anyway, THX, go watch it. It's a movie you could watch in black and white, to be honest with you, because there's very washed out color, like I'm trying to do here with the lighting.
Yes, and it's good. Here after we finished, if you can just finish my dental exam, I'd appreciate that. That'd be great.
No. There was one last thing I was going to say about THX. How much money did it ultimately make? Like $40 million? It's not a lot.
No. It's
20 million.
No,
No.
no. Its budget was $800,000. It
No, but I'm
made,
saying after all these
hold
years,
on,
it's still
it just made back its budget, okay, on its initial release. And then
that's
when they
it.
released it subsequently, it's made around $2 million.
That's it. 2 million from the guy who made Star Wars.
Yeah,
That alone should get you 20 million.
you would think.
You would think. You would think. No one's ever done a sequel to it though. Not even fan fiction.
I don't think so.
No. You know what? It also did Logan's Run come out after this? I know the movie did,
76.
but I'm
That
thinking.
was 1976.
I know that, but I'm saying the book.
Oh,
Because there's a trilogy of Logan's Run books. There's Logan's Run, Logan's World, and Logan something else. And again, that's another futuristic film where there's a society. Of course, that movie's ageism once you hit 30 in the movie, but in the book it was 20.
Yep.
You were sentenced to death. But again, that's a very stark, depressing, futuristic film. But I'm just
yeah,
wondering if the book was written at the same time because a lot of these themes are going around. I mean, Lucas, again, he might have been influenced by somebody else out there. I'm just wondering if this was like the book that everybody was getting into and reading it. If it was like, a hot topic or something
yeah,
like
like
that.
in the late 60s. I mean, it could be.
Yeah,
You know, you
like
never.
Chariots of the God comes along, and that's going to lead to all the Star Wars, ancient aliens type of theories, and everybody's talked about that, and that pops up in the Indiana Jones films.
Yep.
But it just seems like weird coincidence that there's so many of these films, and they're not successful. I mean, they're not making gazillion dollars at the box office.
Yep.
So why would everybody keep going back to this stark, cold, depressing future? I mean, honestly, that's probably why Star Trek works so well because it's the opposite of all these depressing films. Star Trek is a bright, happy future where everyone's working together and it's a positive attitude. But this Deep Space, not Deep Space Nine, Space 1999, all that seemed like very down, very dour. Yeah.
And we need a little bit of happiness, I think. You want to
Take
see
your happy
those.
pill.
That's how you should. I will after this, actually. I need to have a few of those.
Anyway,
And,
yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. There's no toys. You can't go on eBay and buy the THX
no,
figure.
but you know what's surprising? You like this, so I do have to my helmet here, 35D, which is sorry, that sounds like a bra size, doesn't it?
I was gonna say you're well endowed there, Ed. Wow.
This is actually from the film, like that. I'm surprised they didn't make a hot toy version of this because that would have been kind of
that figure. You know what? That costume does come up in the movie Fanboys.
Which is it's been a long time since I've seen Fanboys.
Fanboys is about a bunch of Star Wars fans that raid Skywalker Ranch to get a chance to see the Phantom Menace before their friend passes away of cancer. And Darth Maul himself, Ray Park, is playing Lucasfilm security, and they all wear that outfit with the metal thing, the metal face plate there. And I remember he takes it off. He's like, man, that's part of the gig that you got to wear this outfit here at the ranch or something. So that costume does come up again. And I think the Family Guy, they always mock Lucasfilm. Yeah. I think they did a sequence where they had Peter Griffin fighting amongst the policemen there.
Because the target demographic of the Family Guy really know. I always laugh at the Family Guy because they're going, like, a lot of my students who are 14 and 15 watch that, and they have no idea.
Oh, I know. I see stuff and I go, does anyone get the callbacks that he's doing here? So,
but good for him. We should get him on the show. He'd
you know where he's from, don't you?
Oh my God, really?
Originally Connecticut, Kent, Connecticut, right up the street from me, Ed.
Yeah. Well, Kelly was when I mentioned about Connecticut, she goes, "Oh yeah, we've got to do a bigger tour of Connecticut." So once travel opens up, we're going to get the full works. I think
next to Beverly Hills, Connecticut has the largest population of actors.
Wow,
that's true. That's true. They're all here. I mean, unfortunately, Charles Grodin just passed away the other day. Christopher Plummer. When you see it, it's like Connecticut. I'm like, well, there you go. Yeah. Who knew? They all want to be near me, Ed. Yeah. What can I say?
Or you're the best orthodontist in Connecticut.
This is my THX wardrobe.
Okay, sorry. All right, well, that's it. So go watch THX if you have a chance. 50th anniversary. Don't forget, if you enjoy the show, hopefully you do. How can you subscribe again, Mitch?
And it's like taking a happy pill over in the world of THX. You simply pop that little button down there, whatever, right down there, and you'll be notified when we go on another excellent adventure. And we're going on a lot of them. I think this is episode 40.
Is it?
Yeah, 37, 30,
It's
something
close.
like that.
It's close.
It's
We had a little bit of a break, but usually we do one every
week
2
off.
weeks. Sorry,
Yeah.
I know. Wait, that's all right. We're allowed to take a week off.
Hey, man.
Yeah. So
You got
we're not young. We're not young men. We can't pump this out every 2 days. Do a show. So,
Yeah.
if you are thinking though of something that you'd like us to talk about, please mention it in the comments or let us know.
Yeah. And correct us if we're wrong, because we did probably screw up some THX facts tonight, because
That's
I'm
right.
pretty sure it's mentioned in some other movies besides what I said, Raiders,
Yes.
and it's got to be in Raiders. Now it's going to drive me nuts. I got to go find that out.
Well, we'll have you maybe in the 4K with that new Ben Burt surround sound.
Yeah, suddenly
Dolby
it's
Atmos
written on the
will hear
page
it.
numbers or
It'll be-
something like that. Yeah.
It'll be fantastic.
A girl's got it written on her eyelids. You didn't notice it before. When she goes to blink, it says THX 1138.
That's right.
And you know what's the other funny thing is?
Yeah.
1138 is probably the passcode for every nerd on the planet.
It's
I'm not
password.
saying
yeah.
anything. Just don't ever find my
Yeah.
my bank card. If you ever find my bank card, you'll own my house, because
I
it's like, look at this. Now I got to go fix that
That's right. And check the locks on your on all your doors.
on,
Yes,
on my
combination.
doors and everything like that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. All right. Well, thanks for watching again, and we'll see you next time. This is Ed Dollister.
And this looks like Steve Martin, but it's not.
It does.
I know. I was like, I look like Steve Martin over there.
Dude,
But
it's like at a Little Shop of Horrors. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye. It's Steve Martin. Bye.